wake up with a smile, and then in a while, come to lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies.
Hello, and welcome to Lunch with the Ladies. Today's show is very important because it's about something very important. It's about our health. My dad used to say, health is everything. And I never really understood what he meant until I reached a certain age. But after the past year, I would say I'm just happy to wake up every day, to be breathing, and to feel the aches and pains that we all feel after we get to reach a certain age. I'm just grateful for waking up. But did you know that there are some simple things that we can all be doing that may help us be more productive, be healthier, and have more vitality 10 years from now? And these are things that we can do at any age. We'll talk about that and more on today's show. But first, let's see who's joining us for lunch today. I'm very happy to welcome back the actress Amanda Baker, who can be seen on the CW's Black Lightning. Thank you for joining us again, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm just thrilled to be here and be a part of actually sort of the panel. And so, yeah, I'm excited. So thank you.
We're very happy to have you as a co-host. And also today joining us, we are very honored to have Elsie Koh, MD, join us as our medical contributor. Dr. Koh is the Chief Medical Officer of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention and CEO and founder of LEAD, Physician Leadership Program for Physicians. Dr. Koh, we certainly have a lot of questions for you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. First, I'd like to ask each of our co-hosts what they do that they think is a healthy habit and maybe something that they're doing that they think really they shouldn't be doing. Beth, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I think I eat very healthy. We do most of our own cooking, and I really watch what I put into everything. On the other hand, I also really like cupcakes and ice cream and brownies. I could go on.
I get that. What about you, Amanda?
Well, I would say recently I started to go back to the gym, and I'm trying to do better. Just working out, exercising, moving my body just to have more energy. So that's definitely on the positive side. I'd say on the negative side, I have a 7 and a 2-year-old. And so I find myself eating their snacks and partaking in some things that are probably not the healthiest for me to eat. I think as I've gotten older, I realized that I've developed more of a sweet tooth. So I'm trying to curb that, but that's probably one of the habits that I'm trying to do more in moderation.
Yeah, it seems it's a common thing, what we're eating. Messalina, what about you?
Well, I guess because pregnancy kind of forced it, and I'm not had alcohol in a very long time, so I guess that's quite a healthy thing that I've been doing. So, and that's going to be for at least another year. So I guess that's good. And but not so good is I'm definitely probably spending too much time on my screen because all the time breastfeeding and things. I'm watching a lot. I mean, I'm enjoying watching the TV, but it's probably not good for me.
I understand.
It happens.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mhm.
Little one. Yeah.
yes. And I agree with a lot, with what you're saying. It's the food. I have a sweet tooth on the negative side. I eat a lot of dark chocolate raisins, and I'll sometimes Google, are dark chocolate raisins healthy? And I get different answers for that. I think it's all moderation. And I have a sweet tooth. On the plus side, I am a walker, and I walk at least 2 miles a day. So I hope that's doing me something good. I don't think it's affecting my waistline, but I hope it's got some other benefits. So I think that there is a lot of information out there about what we should and shouldn't be doing. And this is where I'm hoping that Dr. Koh, you will clear some things up for us on things that we can be doing. But first, Mesa has an important message.
The show may contain general medical information. It is not advice and should not be treated as such. If you have any specific questions about any medical matter, you should consult your doctor or other professional healthcare provider. If you think you may be suffering from any medical condition, you should seek immediate medical attention.
Thank you, Messa. And now, Dr. Koh, can you please tell us something that we can be doing at our age, and please touch upon other ages also.
First, I want to say I think those were all great things to be healthy. I think everyone brought up great things that we could do for our bodies and keeping healthy. Diet and nutrition are top things. I think what we often forget is taking care of our mind as much as we care of our body. There is a mind-body connection. We know from placebo trials, all these randomized control trials we do in medicine, that if we give somebody a sugar pill alongside a pill that's supposed to help that disease or problem, that we see patients who take the sugar pill get better, and sometimes to the same extent as the people who took the medicine. So that it goes to show that if you learn how to control your mind. So what I've been trying to do to get better, especially during this pandemic, is to learn to be a lot more self-aware. And how do you do that? You do that through mindfulness practices, whether you're doing it through meditation, yoga, whatever it is that helps you focus and not get rid of all the distractions. Because the older we get, the busier we get, the more we have on our plate, and the more there is just, we feel like scatterbrain unless we write it down. So, getting to a place where you're working out your mental muscle is what I say, as much as your physical body, is paramount.
I find when I walk, it clears my head.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that might be what it is. Maybe that's what you need. But I just want to say that, if you're talking about certain decades of life, and, we're here in a forum where we're talking about mostly women in their middle age, but I'm glad to see that we have Messalina here to hold up the generation before. But when we start from a younger age, we often forget that we have to think about these things. And like you said, as we get older, we think about it more. But what we got to do is we need to not only think about our bodies, but our minds, even from a younger age. And I feel like the younger generation have a lot more stress than we did when we were at their age, because we didn't have the phones with us 24/7. We didn't have the gaming. We didn't have like all this extra stuff that's going into our brains, that's flooding our senses. And there's no calmness of mind. We could talk about all the things that everybody needs to do to stay healthy, and please go see your primary care physician and make sure you get the tests that you need. And when you reach the age of 50, you got to have those screening tests. And I had that conversation with you, Suzanne. It sounds like you're on top of it. You have your eyes checked. You have to check, you have to get your mammogram. You have to get your pelvic exam. You got your blood work, there's blah, blah, blah. You got to have all those things done in bone densitometry if you're at that age, and colonoscopy. But the bottom line, no one really talks to you about how are you dealing with stress, anxiety, depression, mood disorders, things that are really affecting our health that we can't measure, that we don't talk about, that is killing us. And the number one cause of death in the United States is heart disease, right? And what causes heart disease? Inflammation. And where does it come from? I mean, people talk about smoking, hypertension, diabetes, all these things, but we have to think about stress.
Thank you, Dr. Koh. Amanda, you look like you have a question.
Yes, Dr. Koh, I will be 42 this year, the end of the year. And I've noticed ever since I turned 40, my body has started to do different things that it never did before. Metabolism slow down, less energy. Sometimes I feel like my hormones are way out of whack. What would be your recommendation in, aside from, I know diet and exercise, but are there certain supplements or certain things outside of the normal things that we can think of that would help with those issues that we kind of come across when we sometimes kind of get into our 40s? I've debated getting my hormones tested, or doing a more in-depth sort of look at that, but I haven't really asked a professional, so I'm not sure. So that's what I want to know.
So this is a controversial area. And when people who've gone through medical school have been taught a very conventional way of thinking, which is let's treat the problem and not so much the prevention.
Right.
There's a whole nother side of medicine that is gaining more traction. It's called integrative medicine.
Mhm.
It's it's the alternative medicine. And I am a huge believer of both. I don't think one is without the other. And I don't think one is exclusive of the other. And for me, myself, when I'm 52, and when I was in my 40s, I I went through something similar too, like you. And I actually had a very bad migraine, and this is going to answer your question. I had a horrible migraine that could not be treated by conventional medicine. I was so sick with these migraines twice a month that I had a really hard time doing surgical procedures, is what I do as an interventional radiologist. And I had to take prescription medicines that would make me foggy brain. I didn't know where I was. I felt like I was somewhere else. And that's not good for patients.
No.
And so I went to the neurologist. I had an MRI. The guy said, don't take too many of these pills because you might get a stroke. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not going to stay on this pill. So I ended up going to alternative medicine. That's how I found that. And I'm always with that doctor too. So I have two doctors.
Okay.
And that doctor saved me from my migraines, not because conventional medicine failed me.
Yeah.
I stopped. I have not been taking any of those medication, I have to say, for 10 years. Okay. And how did I stop it? She tested 15 tubes of blood. She found out that I had intolerances to certain foods. So I stopped those foods, and my migraines went away completely. And I just couldn't believe it. And so what I would say is, for women also going in, starting in their 40s, when they're starting to get perimenopausal, as much as conventional blood work would tell you, oh, you're fine, your estrogen level is fine, your progesterone's fine, but you go to the alternative medicine doctor, they do different tests that they send across the country, and they'll say, you know what, I could tell your levels are going down. They do different kinds of tests. I started on hormone replacement. Now, it's controversial, so it's not for everybody, and you have to be diligent about your mammogram and your pelvic exam.
Yes.
But I take bioidentical hormone, which is anti-aging.
Friends that tell me about that. Yeah.
Anti-aging, and also just gives you some clarity and helps you with your moods.
Yeah.
So I take testosterone and progesterone. Okay. And it's not for everyone. And people ask, who are these alternative medicine doctors? How do I even find them? Right. So there's a naturopathic doctor. So it's an ND, not an MD. Okay. There are some MDs or or DOs who do practice integrative medicine, both, which I think is ideal. So my doctor is an MD and an integrative medicine specialist. So she was an OBGYN. Okay. She went to medical school. She delivered babies. She got out of that because of her own problems with autoimmune disorder that couldn't be treated by conventional medicine. And she became an integrative medicine specialist. And she has supplements that I take also to help me. So progesterone also helps you with anti-insulin resistance. So as we get older, we start carrying more fat around our bellies we can't eat as much as we used to, because our bodies become insulin resistant. Now there's a spectrum, right? People who become diabetic are very resistant. They have to take medication. But then what about all of us, the rest of us who don't have a choice? Like we're not going to take the diabetic medication, but we're insulin resistant. So what do? Eat less carbs, eat less sugar, don't drink alcohol, blah, blah, blah. You can go on and on, but there's some things that hormones can help us with. The other thing I have to say is, like, the more aches and pains that we talk about, that we feel, like I notice I have my knees hurt, my right hip hurts, but I notice that if I do more core exercises, if I lift more weights, because we're losing muscle mass every decade, 3 to 5%. If we do that, you're going to notice a reversal of those pains, because those muscles are supporting your joints. So make sure you're not just doing squats and working out your quads. You got to work the core, the inner outer thigh, and the glutes.
Absolutely. And Amanda, I have to add, if you think that you had changes when you were in your 40s, wait until you hit 50.
Right. Yes, I know.
I have to say, this program is beyond, individual treatment for every person, but the diagnostic part of it is key. Dr. Koh, I also did go to an integrative medicine specialist who was also an MD, and she's the one that took, I think it was 20 vials of blood, ran all these tests.
Bottles of blood.
And I just kept sitting there. And yeah, that's when she found out about a gluten intolerance and some other things. And I think it's finding the right diagnosis is key, no matter what kind of doctor you go to.
Yeah, we didn't learn anything about diet and medicine. I mean, at least I didn't.
Yeah.
And you would think we do. I don't know anything about nutrition, from medical school. So
Sure.
it's all afterwards that I learn. And hopefully there's more medical schools that are changing and learning, adding that. I know the Mayo Clinic, they integrate integrative medicine for their cancer treatment from their patients.
Wow.
So it is a very small arm,
Yeah.
but they do that.
Well,
I really believe in the in diet as well. 'Cause I have polycystic ovary syndrome, and I cut out gluten, dairy, and eggs, and all my cysts went, and my symptoms went away, and I control it through diet. So it's made a huge difference to my life. So I'm totally into that as well.
I completely believe
That's
you.
great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I just have to be the legal person and say everyone's case is different. So you have to find out what works for you. Messalina, do you have a question for Dr. Koh?
Yes. So Dr. Koh, do you have any advice for women in their 20s, and particularly for new moms? So I'm like anything I should be doing, or like things to help being healthier, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you can breastfeed, I think that's fantastic, not just for the baby, for you. I personally couldn't. Some women just can't, and also, physically you can because your job or whatever, whether physically or due to the environment. But the breast milk is not. It's full of I mean, you might know this already, but it's full of antibodies for the baby during that crucial period. But also for you, it's the calories come out faster, and
Mm.
it's the body weight that's really for your age group causes early diabetes. There's a rise in early diabetes in younger people that we haven't seen before because of the weight gain and the sugary foods and everyone staying home, not exercising and watching their mobile phones and TVs and not going out and restricting what they're eating, and people are stressed out. So
Wow.
That's
Well,
great.
yeah. Messalina was just feeding her child before we came on air.
oh, there you go.
Yeah, he's just, I've got him laid here. He's just unlatched. So he's just had his snack.
Oh, very good. I was hounded by a women what do you call them, the lactation specialist,
Oh yeah.
and they were told me that you gotta breastfeed your kid. I'm like, I'm about to do a fellowship in interventional radiology, which is 1% women right now, and I have 4 physicians, men physician. Do you think I can go up to them and say, excuse me, I gotta pump my breast right now, I'll be right back in half an hour?
But
That's
is
not gonna work.
that
That's
is
hard.
the problem, though.
I
There
know
should
it is a
be-
problem.
That is a problem. There should be the ability to do that. I have to
But-
take a break. I'm feeding my child.
There should
Well,
be, but I'm telling you, if you were in where I was, that's not gonna
Not
happen.
too much. Yeah, absolutely.
There is a very new breast pump to the market, which I'm so grateful I got for free through my insurance. It's called Freebie, and it's not attached to anything. Like it's the pump is you clip it into your belt, and so you just put the two
Under your shirt?
you put into your bras, and then
Wow. I should have
attach
had
your
that.
it's well, I'm open a show in like 2 weeks, and I was at rehearsal and I had to pump, and so I did half the show whilst pumping. And I mean, everyone as we were rehearsing, and I was just like walking around, and I just had it set to a timer, and I didn't have to think about it. So I'm so grateful for the advances that are being
Wow,
made.
what a great invention.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That it was made by a woman.
Yes.
Yes. I know it.
A husband saw his wife struggling with everything. He's a doctor, and he's like, "This is crazy." And so he's like, "We need to find a solution," and that's how he came up with it. So
Brilliant.
couple power and like helping each other, and he's helped loads of other women too, which is awesome. So
Wow.
Yeah, because it looks so easy, but it's
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Not easy at all.
so you're talking about mental focusing. One thing I find, especially as I get older and also in the wake of the last several years, is it's so hard to fall asleep. It's so hard to stay asleep. When I had little ones, I only wanted to go to sleep, and now that they're grown, I just can't. What about things like melatonin or something else to help that?
Well, they anything you're putting into your body, you want to try to prevent. Obviously, first try other conservative means. And I found things that I didn't even realize that really work. But I have taken personally melatonin when I had to. I just wouldn't make it like a every night habit. And if that's what you're doing, then there's something additional that you need to do. I mean, first of all, my husband has his phone up to his face like this while we're in bed. I'm like, could you put that away? I stopped that just actually not that long ago. Maybe it was 6 months ago. And I decided to charge my phone in the bathroom. So I can't look at my phone while I'm going, because that affects the back of your retina and affects your sleep center. So if you can stop being on your phone or TV for 1 hour before you go to sleep, that really helps. And the other thing is, not drinking too much fluids before you go to sleep, because then you have to get up and pee all the time. That disrupts your sleep. I mean, I do that. I'm like fault for that. And the other thing is you can do meditative. There's all these free meditations that you can do on YouTube for sleep. So you can listen to them. And I actually bought a couple things, and I also have belonged to certain apps. And there's some apps that literally get you. I mean, it has to do with very specific to what really you're in tune with. But for me, I listen to hypnotherapy for sleep. And the hypnotherapy allows you to really clear your mind, and you're such a calm state. I wake up in the next day and I'm like, whoa, like I had the best night's sleep. If I forget to do it, then it doesn't work. And there's this one CD, or that you can not CD. See, this is how it dates me. And there's no CDs anymore. there's this one download from Amazon Music that you can get called Meditation for Sleep by David Reine, Reine, and he it's for weight loss too. So you listen to that, and he goes through like 5 different meditations, and by the time you listen to the second one, you're out. And then your earphones fall off your ears, whatever. But so stuff like that really helps. The other thing is there's this yoga practice that I started doing while in your bed. You lie down flat, and it's called corpse position. I don't know if any of you guys done that?
I haven't heard that. No.
I'm picturing it.
It sounds like morbid, but and I forgot the Indian name for it. I think it's called, that's it. Okay. And so when you're lying down, what you do is you contract all your muscles, or you could do it in chunks. But what you do is you contract every single muscle in your body, to your forehead, to your abs, to your thighs, to your foot, all the way down. You contract it as hard as you can for like 10 to 15 seconds. Okay. And then you release it. It's supposed to help you. And if you just do it right now, just contract your muscles really hard right now, like your biceps. And just for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now release it. Do you feel like a heat is being emanating from your arms, and it's almost like a relaxation? That is just try that tonight, and you're gonna feel like a relaxation has come over you, and that's gonna really help you too.
I think, thank you for that.
I'm definitely going to try that, because I have trouble falling asleep and staying asleep as well. Just with all the other stuff I had mentioned before with my question on turning 40, all of a sudden I can't sleep at night. So I'm going to do all those things.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I try hard not to medicate. I mean, obviously if there's something, I'm jet lagged, or I have an event tomorrow, I have to go to sleep, then I will do it. But I really try everything else compounded together, and it really helps. So
Good to know.
I have I have an Alexa, so I will put the meditation music on Alexa on a timer.
Wow.
And that will help me fall asleep.
That's
but
awesome.
I have to interject with the tiny joke, because 40s, okay, I had trouble falling asleep. 50s, even more so. And a friend of mine and I, we had our colonoscopies. And when we woke up out of the colonoscopies, we just said, best sleep ever.
That's the protocol.
I just think about that sleep. Who sleeps like that? It was so good.
That's
I do varicose vein treatment for women, and I have women coming to me say, I was looking forward to this surgery, because the last time I felt so good. Can I take some of that medication home with me? I'm like, no, I can't give you any of that medication, because I give them fentanyl and Versed, which is like a morphine and a Valium, kind of medicine. So
yeah, well, we'll just have to try to duplicate that with our meditation and our apps and healthy eating. And
And the
I see.
phone, getting the electronic free
Yes.
zone. Yeah.
Off the
Yes.
phone. Yes.
So there's so many questions we have for you, Dr. Koh. We'll have to have you back again. And just, as a wrap up, when I'm hearing from you, and this affects your sleep also, it's taking care of your mind, doing something for your mind every day.
Yes, and we can get into more depth of that. I mean, that if you have control over your mind, I mean, nobody has complete control of their mind. We're constantly thinking 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day that we don't even realize what we're thinking.
Wow.
And there a lot of them could be negative. And that's what we call negative self-talk, and then causes imposter syndrome and all these, paradigms that we have. So if we learn to be a lot more aware, just even like 5 to 10% more aware of what we're saying to ourselves every day and what we do and how we think and how we focus and clear our minds, you're going to live healthier, happier, and more successful in whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish. You're going to have a better self-image, more self-confidence, and just more peace of mind. And believe me, I'm not an expert at it, but I work at it every day.
So just a simple step, yes, be more mindful, be more aware of our thoughts, meditate, get better sleep. But when a negative thought comes in our mind, should we be saying that's not true and just go on to something else?
That's an excellent advice, Suzanne. I would just say, I have a mantra that I say, I'm more than that.
Yeah.
I stop it, or I'll say, I snap out of it because it'll just keep going. And so I'll be in the shower and I would say, I'm more than that. Or I'll say something out loud. My husband's like, are you talking to yourself? Because I am so much more aware of what I'm saying to myself than I was before. And that's part of being a leadership coach too. So we can go to all of that, but there's so many tricks that you can do to really push yourself forward to the next thing that you want to accomplish.
Well, I thank you for all of this, because, the mission of this show is to empower people, to entertain also, but we're all powerful human beings, and we do listen to that negative banter that goes in our heads way too often. And, speaking to someone like you, I hope that anyone watching realizes the power that the individual has, and we can harness that power even better when we're suppressing the negative thoughts and just going beyond what we ever thought we could do, because I believe we all have the power to do something really great and to fulfill our destiny. I don't want to sound religious or anything like that, but it's within ourselves. Ordinary people do extraordinary things.
That's right. Love that.
Thank you. So, Dr. Koh, we have a charity shout out at the end of each show, and I understand you have a wonderful nonprofit that you'd like to tell us about.
Yes, there's the Unstoppable Foundation, for which I belong to. I wholeheartedly believe, and what it does, it really empowers women in Africa to get jobs, because they are often the forgotten people who don't get educated, who are the last ones to get educated in the families because they're told to stay home. So they don't get more than an elementary education. And because the families really need them somebody to stay home, to be, looking out for the basic needs, whether it's water, getting clean water and having to travel miles to get that, and the food and blah, 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 just the routine things. And so what this Unstoppable Foundation does, it gives families the basic needs so that child can then go to school. Okay. And so they're creating villages, providing water, creating agriculture, teaching, I mean, they are teaching men too, but there's a whole women empowerment piece to it. And they're helping them to be able to become mechanics, become nurses, grow agriculture, just become self-sustaining. So they don't require, we're just not throwing money at them and hoping it lasts. It's throwing money into a valuable resource so that they can just take that and improve the way they live, and then for generations to come.
Thank you, Dr. Koh, for telling us about that. We'll put the website up, and empowering women, especially in third world countries. This is how we make the world a better place. And it's all about the women, the men also, but being able to sustain themselves. So I thank you for bringing that organization to our attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So that's it for another episode of Lunch with the Ladies. Thank you to Beth and Amanda and Messalina. for being with us. Ileana, I'm going to give a shout out to Ileana, our other co-host today, because she's doing something special. She is doing an episode of Law and Order, so she could not be here. Dr. Koh, thank you for joining us. Please join us again. And like I say every time, every day, give some joy, find some joy. And after today's episode, take some time out for yourself as well. Bye, everyone.
Wake up with a smile